Hello and welcome to episode 321 or 321 as it's written down of Geektown Radio. I am back this week with Matt. How are you doing?
I'm okay, David. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. So, been a few weeks since you've been on. What have you been up to?
I got the trailer last week for Zoe's Christmas, Zoe's Extraordinary Christmas, I think is what they're calling it. Very good. I think it's about 2 or so minutes, and it's basically Mo singing a Christmas song and Zoe looking as confused as always, but in the best possible way, because that's obviously how it all sort of works. Funny thing, I watched the trailer in front of my mum and dad who haven't seen the show, and both of them looked a bit confused, and I thought, okay, if they ask a question, I'll explain what's going on, because it kind of made sense that they would look a bit confused, because obviously everyone's breaking out into song and dance and Zoe is kind of like walking around, but obviously that's how it works, and I'm just sitting there smiling away and they're both looking very confused. But no, really good trailer. Somebody pointed out before I'd seen it that it was taken all in one shot, and then I realized that that's what happened.
I hadn't noticed that, but
once I saw it, I only noticed because somebody else said something. So again, just really good stuff. I was smiling like all the way through. I smile most of the time when I watch the show anyway, unless something obviously bad happens. But no, really good. I think it's is it December 1st or something like that?
December 1st, as we mentioned last week when Gray was on, E4 will not have finished running out the second season, but the second season does end before Christmas. I think the last episode goes out around the 20th. So in actual fact, you're just going to have to kind of put off. I know you've seen the whole of the second season, but I'll just put off watching it until it's a little bit closer to Christmas, which is fine. You know, I'll still get to watch it before Christmas, so that's okay.
Mm-hmm. But really enjoyed that. That was great. I saw because I noticed Lionsgate started tweeting about the show a bit more. Obviously, they're trying to promote it for Roku and everything, and they said the episodes are available, but I went and checked and they weren't. I'm guessing they aren't at the moment because E4's running them out or something.
Yeah, they are available in America. Right. All the first and second season are available on Roku in America. I would think once E4's run them out, I suspect they will end up on Roku in the UK as well at some point in the future, but there's obviously licensing things that they'll need to figure out before then. Yeah,
so because I want to try and convince more people to watch the show, and at the moment there isn't really like a good place to go and visit season 1 unless you buy it, which I think is worth the money, but other people might not because they don't know maybe much about the show, or you know, it's a bit more difficult to sell people on the show, instead of usually when you say, hey, it's on Netflix, and most people subscribe to Netflix or something. So it'll be easier to do that once I can say, hey, it's on Roku. It's not only completely free, but you don't need to like obviously pay for it and that sort of thing. My dad's probably going to take about 6 months to do it, but I'll try and convince them to watch the show as well. Sometimes they take a little bit of time to get around the things that I recommend, but really looking forward to that as well. Have you been enjoying season 2?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, it's just such a wonderful series that from start to finish, the first season was amazing. I'm really enjoying the second season. You know, although they moved a few things around, it's still working really, really well and still very, very enjoyable. So I'm looking forward to this Christmas episode. I hope that goes down really well, and I hope that means they're going to do more, even if it's more movies rather than more series possibly moving forward. But hopefully they'll get them back together to do more.
Yeah. What episode is it on E4?
I think it's episode 5.
5 or 6.
5 or 6, something like that. Yeah.
Cool. So other than that, I've been playing a lot of Metroid Dread, which is on the Switch, part of the Metroidvania like type of game, which basically means you need to explore a bit more. I'm really enjoying it. Really, really enjoying it. This is my first Metroidvania? It's my first Metroidvania that I've played properly or like fully tried. Because I think I've played things like Dead Cells before that just didn't really kind of work, maybe a few others, but this is my first like proper attempt at a Metroidvania. And it's my first Metroid game as well. I know that there's the, I think the original trilogy, there's supposed to be Metroid 4 Prime in development, but this came out in the meantime. It's an interesting game because it's not something I usually play at all. And the idea to me of going back and forth between levels and finding stuff, I don't really like, but I'm really enjoying in this game. So maybe this game has kind of changed my perspective on that. It's one of them games where when I know what I'm doing and where I'm going, I'm having a complete blast playing this game. But I was stuck on one particular part for about like 3 days because I knew roughly what I needed to do, but I just couldn't quite break my way sort of through it. And then I looked up about probably 4 different YouTube videos to figure out what I needed, and was I missing a power up that I needed to break something. Turns out that was the case, because I was very determined. I was like, I don't want to give up now. I'm really enjoying this, and I'm like, 3-4 hours in. I don't want to just throw the game away because I can't get past it. So I knew there was an answer out there somewhere. Obviously, I just wanted to find what it was. I had to basically go backwards to a previous like actual area, which meant I had to get on this futuristic train system sort of thing, which I kind of suspected but didn't know for sure. So I didn't want to like go all the way back through the level and then make a mistake. So I did that. I got this new power up thing. Then I defeated a big boss, which was fun. But no, I'm really enjoying it so far. And it feels, when I actually get past certain parts in the game and I unlock something or I progress, it feels really rewarding. So it's like, you've unlocked this thing. It's like, cool, now I can go on and progress and use this new ability. So I'm really enjoying it, but I am frustrated on like certain parts, but it's okay. So what's your kind of experience with Metroid games or Metroidvanias and that sort of thing?
I am aware of it because, I mean, the game itself has been around since like 1986. I mean, it's got a long history. I mean, it predates, it was on the Famicom originally. So, I mean, it sort of predates the sort of SNES and the, all that sort of stuff. So I'm aware of the game. I may have played it at some point, but I don't really remember. But I may have played one iteration of it, but I don't play Nintendo stuff all that much, so it's just not one that I've really kind of, it's passed me by a little bit, this, but I am aware of the name and I'm aware of it sort of being around, and there have been so many different variations of it. It went through a bit of a sort of resurgence in the sort of early 2000s and then kind of disappeared for a bit, and then it's kind of had a few more releases, and then it's back now with Metroid Dread, and then they've got Metroid Prime coming out at some point, or Metroid Prime 4 coming out at some point, haven't they? So it's not one that I've played all that much, if at all. But I know it's hugely popular. I know it's a big franchise.
I was just very impressed with it when they showed it off at the Direct. I was like, this actually looks quite good, and I'm new to this, so I'll kind of just jump on here. And the story, like, you can jump on. It's quite a simple kind of story. You basically just crash land on this planet, and your objective is to get to your ship. So it's not really like a story heavy at the moment anyway. It's not really like a story heavy sort of situation. So there's no sort of canon or story that I feel like I'm missing. There's a new show on Apple TV Plus called Invasion. The 5th episode went out on Friday. I watched it yesterday. I'm really enjoying it. I've seen some criticism about it in terms of there's too many characters and plot lines, and that the show is kind of too slow. I can see why people are saying that, but I'm not. There's a difference between a slow burn, because Game of Thrones used to do a slow burn, didn't it? Or sort of a slow pace. Yeah. And I think this is just doing kind of a slow burn. There's been little teasers of these aliens, and so it follows 5 different characters in completely different areas. Some of them are in different countries. I think one of them is in like Japan or somewhere. One of them's in the US. One of them's on this like farm area, this sort of sheriff. One's in the UK, one's in the US. One of the characters is deployed for the army, so you see them out in the desert and that sort of thing. And it tells their story of each, how they come across this alien threat and how they deal with it. So it does switch between, I think it's 5 different groups of characters, but I like the way they do it though. It's very difficult to actually balance something like that. Of course, some shows do it very badly, some shows do it quite well. The one thing that's kind of made it a bit better, I think, is unlike with certain other shows where you think, okay, you're showing these different groups of characters and they're not meeting up. There's no reason at all for these characters to meet up. So in terms of me thinking, let's say, okay, these 2 characters will meet up and then they'll have more joined scenes, because I know that's not going to happen anyway, because these people don't even know who each other are. It's supposed to be just this person in this country, this person in this country, because I know that they're very, very unlikely to ever meet up until maybe right at the end or something. I'm not as bothered about that aspect. It's more of a case of just flipping between. It is still quite a few characters characters, it is still 5. But it cuts the scenes off at reasonable kind of moments where you're not like got too much of a cliffhanger. Doing a good job of doing something I think is quite difficult, which is balancing these 5 different characters. The other aspect I kind of disagree with a little bit, which is that we haven't seen enough of the alien, and it took quite a few episodes for them to actually say the word alien. There's glimpses of the alien in episode 1 and episode 4. That's not really like a spoiler, you don't see too much, but the show's not trying to hide the aliens away completely. They're just trying to keep them as a bit of a mystery.
Yeah.
And there is actually quite a big scene, I think in like episode 3, where there's this like big ship sort of thing that's shown off. So they are showing more and more of them, and you kind of know they're always in the background. They could show up. So I like the way they're doing the story so far. It's quite surprising me, and I'm invested in all 5 of the different characters. There's not one particular one where I think, hey, get off of that one and go back to this character. Right. I'm sort of invested in all of them, but there's a lot of variety as well because all these people are very different. You've got like a bunch of school kids that you follow. They have a teacher with them. They're on this like school trip. Like I said, there's the army guy, there's the sheriff, there's the person that's at like a space station sort of thing.
Right.
Then there's like more like a domestic house situation, like I think it's 2 kids, a dad and a mum. They're just at home living their normal lives. I think that's all of the characters. But yeah, I like it so far. It's about 5 episodes in. But have you seen any of this or heard of any of it at all?
I've heard of it. I saw that it was coming out. I haven't got around to starting it yet. It is one that I do want to go and watch. It's interesting, the people behind it, because it was created by David Weil, who is the creator of Hunters, which was the Nazi hunting Amazon series that was released last year, I think it was. He did that. The other guy involved in it is Simon Kingbird, and Simon Kingberd's CV is mixed, I think it's fair to say. He's done things like Jumper, which he was writer and producer on. He did the Guy Ritchie Sherlock Holmes movie. He's been involved in X-Men First Class, and he was the writer on X-Men Days of Future Past. He did X-Men Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix, which he wrote and directed, which is arguably one of the worst of the X-Men movies. And that Fantastic Four movie, which got completely slated. I didn't think it was quite that bad. It just changed.
The one that was like an individual film.
Yeah, the one that sort of cast them all as
the younger cast.
Yeah, younger cast. I can see why people took against it. I think taking it on its own, it actually wasn't that bad. But I
never saw that one.
Yeah. So, you know, he's been a little bit mixed up of his history, but they're experienced people and they've dealt with a lot of this sort of stuff before. So it does look like it's going to be quite an interesting series. What is interesting is what you said about the fact that, people are complaining it's a bit slow, because that's sort of the impression I got from it, from the trailers and stuff, would be maybe it's going to be a bit slower paced and it's going to be that sort of sci-fi, but
there's a lot kind of going on, so there's a lot for them to kind of get through as well. I feel like what's going to happen with this is I'm going to get really, really into it the more episode. I mean, I'm already really into it, but I'm going to really enjoy it. Everyone else is going to kind of really not like it, and then it'll get cancelled or something. I don't know, and then I'll be really disappointed. So I'll make the most of it while it's still around.
Yeah,
but we'll see. I'm not quite sure how Apple sort of works in terms of how they judge renewals and stuff.
Numbers versus what it costs, I guess.
Yeah. It does seem like a lot of people are actually watching it, but some people just don't really like it quite so much.
Yes.
So, I don't know. The other thing, Dickinson season 3 came back, launched the 3 episodes. Apple started doing that more now, haven't they?
Yeah.
Launching a series and then you'll be like, oh, there's a new episode. No, there's 3 new episodes to watch, which they did with Invasion. I think they started off with 3 when that came out, and obviously that was 3 hours of content. It's back with Haley Steinfeld as Emily Dickinson, the poet. The one slightly disappointing is there's a very minor sort of, not even really complaint, more of an observation. They started off the season with this like mini war set piece, and it lasted for 2 minutes, and I was like, oh, this is kind of different, and I didn't really expect this. And then they sort of went right past it, but then they do keep referencing during the show that there's like a war still going on in the country. They're focusing a bit more this season on like the family dynamic. There's a particularly bad dynamic that's going on with the dad and the son, and there's a child involved, and mayhem kind of broke loose in some of the episodes. There's some like relationship-y kind of stuff going on, but it's handled in much more of a mature way, in that there feels like there's a bit more weight and some more stakes to some of these relationships, because basically if certain people in the show found out about certain relationships, given the time period and how things like that are treated in that day and age, it might not go so well. One of which involves a relationship that Emily has with another character, which I was quite invested in as well. Yeah, overall, they're kind of short episodes, which is not a bad thing. They're about half an hour each, the first 3 episodes, which follows on from what they were doing the previous 2 seasons. But I'm looking forward to seeing, this is the final season, the 3rd and final season, so I'm looking forward to seeing how it all kind of wraps up. But Hayley's got a big month, because she's got Hawkeye at the end of the month and Dickinson at the beginning of the month.
Yeah.
I didn't actually look up, but I wonder if her birthday's in November. That would really like make it a complete month. But no, it's good so far. I don't think you've seen any of this show.
I've seen a few episodes here and there because I've interviewed some people involved with it, but that sort of makes it slightly difficult because I had to watch a couple of episodes of the 2nd season before I'd finished the 1st. So I've seen bits from sort of all over the place, which just makes me a little difficult for me to now kind of go back and like go, okay, I need to pick it up from here and kind of move forward. But then I've seen like that episode in season 2 and so I may go back and watch it at some point, but yeah, I enjoyed what I saw. It was fun. It was a fun series, but just tricky because I was sort of all over the place with it.
Yeah. Her birthday's in December, so it's a month off from what I was thinking. 11th of December. So
there you go.
That would be good. And then just a bit of news I wanted to include, actually. I saw this tweeted from Neil Druckmann yesterday. It says, alas, my time in Canada, which a lot of things film in Canada, don't they? Alas, my time in Canada has come to an end. To the best TV crew in the world, thank you for your incredible work, your passion, and for making me feel so welcome. I will miss you terribly. Excited to return to Naughty Dog, which is where they make the Last of Us games. And he says, and some warmer weather so as well. And then he's got like one of those filming things, that he's got in front of them. So it seems they're probably wrapped filming season 1 then, which is
it sounds
exciting.
like the way I'm reading it from the other reports I've seen around it, it sounds like he's wrapped his work on season 1. So they may still have some episodes and bits and pieces to shoot, but
maybe some reshooting or something.
Or I mean, he was directing some of the episodes, so it sounds like he's done with all the directing that he was doing on that, and maybe he's just got to go back to Naughty Dog and actually do his day job back over there. But so they may still be working on it, but it certainly sounds like it's getting through them anyway.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of like behind the scenes kind of photos and stuff, and Bella Ramsey and Pedro have both posted like lots of different things about filming, who obviously playing Joel and Ellie. So I'm very excited. Hopefully we get a trailer before the end of the year or something.
That'd be nice.
Who knows? They might even do some sort of trailer at like, it'd be a little bit strange, but they could do it. Maybe a trailer at like the Game Awards, which is in December. That's maybe a possibility, because it ties into the gaming world.
Yeah, that would be a logical place to do it, actually.
That's what I've been up to, David. How about you?
Gaming wise, I finished Guardians of the Galaxy, which you've been playing some of this, hadn't you? I think.
Yeah, I played about 3-4 hours, maybe 2 to 3, and it just didn't quite click with me, unfortunately. I thought there were some good ideas maybe behind it, but I just didn't quite end up getting invested. And
that's a shame.
It is a bit of a shame, because I thought like, it is from Square Enix, who were responsible for the Avengers and stuff, but it was from Eidos this time, the different developer, because Eidos did this Guardians game, and then Crystal did the Avengers game. So I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna like let the Avengers thing kind of get in my way, and I'll go in with like a fresh, open mind. It's a different type of game as well. It's just a single player game. I found certain gameplay elements to be slightly awkward. I found that the way you control the team to be sort of slightly awkward, because you eventually, as different members of the team come into the game, can kind of select them to do different things, and I found that to be a little bit awkward. But no, overall, I don't think it's a bad game. I'm very much just it was middle for me. I just didn't quite click enough for it to play another 10 hours or however long it would have taken.
I played through the whole thing. It took me basically 24 hours to complete it. Not in one sitting, I point out, but it took 24 hours to complete it. I've not gone and done like absolutely everything. There are certain achievements experience, which I don't have. But to get through the whole story mode once, it took 24 hours for me. So it's not necessarily the longest of games. Gameplay-wise, you don't control directly the whole team. You're basically playing Star-Lord. And then, as you were saying, you give commands to the other team members, kind of in a similar way with the Mass Effect games. You can kind of point them to say, go and do something specific to that person over there, go and target that person, throw a bomb at it or whatever. And the control is somewhat similar to that. So I was actually okay with how they handled that. I think that actually works better than you taking direct control of each individual character, having Star-Lord as the leader and then letting him direct the action. I was playing on the normal difficulty. It was a decent challenge in places, I thought, with some of the fight sequences. It's a nice story throughout. I mean, I just really enjoyed those characterizations and that story. They introduced Adam Warlock at one point, which, I mean, he's been in trailers and stuff, so I don't think that's a huge spoiler, but they introduced Adam Warlock in there, and there is a nice sort of overarching story, which I'm not going to go into because that would spoil things. So it is essentially about the team initially going off, doing a job goes horribly wrong, they get caught, and they have to pay a fine, and then things sort of spiral from there as it uncovers this larger thing going on, this larger sort of conspiracy which is going to kind of take over the galaxy. The characterizations of the various team members are based more directly on the comic book. They're not based on the film versions, so they sort of end up being a kind of mishmash of the two, because obviously the film versions are based on the comic book as well. They're familiar, but they're also slightly different. The voices are very similar, and people like Drax is still very literal. Rocket's still sort of got that same sort of accent, and he's very sarcastic. So the iterations are ones that you would recognize, but visually they look a little bit different as well.
Yeah.
I actually really like that version. I thought the banter backwards and forwards, because if they're all standing in the same room, they chat to each other, and you end up getting bits of these like silly conversations where they're talking about what somebody's done, or so I really like the way it's put together. The gameplay reminds me of the Uncharted series quite a lot, including the mildly annoying what we call quick time cut sequences, where you've got to hit the button at a particular point. It's a pre-rendered thing where he's, I don't know, sliding off something, and you've got to hit the button at a particular point to make sure that he grabs onto a ledge and doesn't fall to his death. They've still got some of those in there, which I've never been a fan of, but it's fine. There's only a few of them. It's not that bad. And if you do happen to miss and fall off, it starts you at the start of that pre-rendered sequence again, which is like usually only about sort of 20 seconds beforehand, and then you've just got to try and hit the button again. So that side of things isn't too bad. It's certainly, if you like the gameplay of those Uncharted games, this will feel very familiar to you, I think. And there's a nice little upgrade path of sort of various weapons and stuff that you can get, and it's that sort of middle ground between being, it's not a full-blown RPG. It is very much a kind of guided story in the same way that Uncharted is. Structurally, it's very much like that. But it's a very nicely put together and well-written story, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good fun. As I say, the only thing is it is a little bit shorter than maybe I'd like for a full-priced game, because it came in at 24 hours. So
right, I just ultimately didn't quite click with it, which is bit of a shame, but I don't hate it or anything. Yeah.
Had you played through some of the Uncharted games?
Yeah, I've played all the Uncharted games.
Did you get that similar sort of vibe from it as well?
I feel like Uncharted was a bit more free flowing, maybe.
Yes, possibly.
I mean, they're both linear games. Like, neither of them are open world, but the movement in Guardians felt slightly more stiff, I suppose.
Yeah.
Not to like a really bad point, but I can kind of see some of the comparison that you're making. So
yeah. So in terms of TV shows, though, Stargirl I finished. That came to its end. Really enjoyed that series. I think it's one of the strongest out of that sort of Berlanti camp of TV shows. We've talked at long lengths about problems with the Arrowverse, and this sort of sits very much outside it. I'm very interested to see where they go with the next season, because we know that Joe McHale, who played a guest starring role in season 1, he was technically a recurring role in season 2, but he plays the original Starman, and he is apparently in season 3 as well. That's kind of interesting. if you've seen the previous seasons, you know how that sort of works. He's going to be around a lot more in season 3 because he's a series regular, apparently. That's kind of interesting. The next season seems to be dealing with sort of, I think it's called Frenemies, the third season, because they have a theme for each one. So this one was called Summer School. First season was just sort of Stargirl. The second season was Summer School. And this third season apparently is called Frenemies. So it's about sort of them dealing with the enemies who are trying to sort of live in the same town and stuff. And they've introduced a new villain who you get to see at the end of the season as well. So yeah, I really, really like that series. Have you been keeping up with that?
I'm about 2 episodes behind, but I will finish the season. But it's been pretty good. I think it's definitely one of the better of the CW superhero shows. I think Superman pretty much stands above all of the others, given what that's kind of doing. And then the others are just kind of pick and choose, I suppose. But no, it's good. I maybe haven't enjoyed the second season as quite as much as the first, but maybe like just slightly less. But it's still pretty good. It's not been a drop of interesting. It's just been a time thing. But I will watch, I think it's the last 2 episodes that I've got. I'll watch those at some point.
Yeah, no, I've been really enjoying that, and I am looking forward to that coming back for another season. The other thing that I started watching was the second season of Departure, which is this series that is set around the fictional Transport Safety Investigation Bureau. It stars Archie Punjabi, who is the lead investigator, and this first season is actually based in the UK and is based around a plane that goes down. The second season seems to be dealing with a train crash, which is in the USA. And it's this sort of high-tech, high-speed train which crashes, and they are trying to figure out whether it was purely an accident or whether there was something more nefarious going on. It's a really interesting drama, though. It has been renewed for a third season as well. It's got Eric McCormack, who you'll know from things like, well, Will and Grace most notably, but he was in Travellers and Perception as well. He's joining apparently for the third season. Really enjoying that. It's airing on Sky Witness. I think the first season went out recently on Alibi, having originally gone out on Universal TV. It's one of these weird things that seems to be a co-production between a few different people. It's made by an outside company, but then bought by Universal TV. It's run by Global in Canada, I think, with the people who originally commissioned it, but then it ended up airing on Peacock as well, and now is airing on Sky Witness. So it's sort of been all over the place. So very much enjoying that. It's a good, solid suspense thriller, but the second season is airing now on Sky Witness if you want to go and watch that. Also started The Outlaws, which is the new Stephen Merchant comedy, which is about 7 different strangers who are completing community payback sentences in Bristol, which basically is go to this dilapidated old building and clear it out because they want to turn it into a community centre, and they're working off their community payback hours by doing that. And it's a really fun mix of characters. It's Stephen Merchant, who is there as a sort of lawyer, although a very unsuccessful lawyer. Randomly, you've got Christopher Walken in there, who is an American who is sort of living with his daughter and grandchild. You've got like an activist, a businessman, there's a sort of socialite influencer in there. So there's this weird mix of this group of strangers. If you've seen the trailers and stuff, you know that there is a more of a sort of thriller aspect to this. It ends up with them finding this bag of money, and it becomes sort of about what's going to happen with that moving forward as well. There's 6 episodes in the series. I think they're all up on iPlayer. I've only seen the first 2 at the moment, though. Really, really fun and interesting, well-written, entertaining little drama, or sort of comic crime thriller thing. But yeah, well worth going to look at.
I've not seen Stephen Merchant in something for a long time, and I did see a little trailer for this the other day. I just kind of forgot that it was coming out, so because I just don't really go on iPlayer for many things, so I'll have to remember to do that. Because yeah, you got Ricky's on what's it called again? Afterlife.
Yes,
the Netflix.
Yes, his show, massive Netflix show. Yes,
Stephen's doing this. I don't know what Carl's doing at the moment. He's gone because he did like Idiot Abroad and some other things. I suppose Sick of It is his new thing, isn't it?
Yeah, Sick of It's his main thing. Yeah,
even been a while since that's on the air. So
they did one in January 2020, but obviously things haven't really been shooting as much. So it has. I don't think they're planning on doing any more of that. So I don't know what he's doing next. But
yeah, I used to really love seeing them all together. Now they don't don't really kind of do much together anymore. But yeah, I'll have to follow Stephen on this thing now. So are they like a 30-minute comedy sort of thing, or are they a bit longer?
They're longer than that. They're either 45 minutes or hours.
Okay.
So they are longer. Yeah, very, very enjoyable. You know, it is a sort of this comedy crime caper thing, which is very fun. It's got a superb cast in it. I mean, as I say, Stephen Merchant, Christopher Walken in there, Darren Boyd is in there as well. He's a wonderful actor. Eleanor Tonkinson, who's great. Dolly Wells, who's great. Ian McKinney is in there as well. So there's some wonderful characters in there, wonderful actors in there.
But I've also I'm not caught up on Doctor Who either, because I just don't really click on iPlayer. So I guess I need to click on iPlayer a bit more.
Yes, you should. This season of Doctor Who, I'm really enjoying the format, and I do wonder whether they're going to keep that format. It will be interesting moving forward if they actually kept to the 6-episode format and maybe had those continuous arcs. So it was sort of 2 continuous arcs of 6 episodes, maybe split into 2 through across the year. Might be an interesting way of doing it, but I don't know. I don't know what they're planning on doing. There's going to be some changes at Doctor Who when Russell T Davies comes back, because it sounds like Bad Wolf, who are the production team that are coming in to join him, who were the original production team on Doctor Who before they went out and formed Bad Wolf, hence the name, as a separate production company. They are coming back along with Russell T Davies, and they are going to get more creative control over the direction of the show as well. So I think that's going to be kind of interesting to see where they go with it when he comes back as well. So they're setting up a few things, and they've gone big again with this. They're playing around with things to do with time and timelines and that sort of stuff with the series now. I'm not going to go into it because it gets too complicated to explain, as Chris Chibnall did with the last season, which upset some people because he suddenly sort of went, oh, by the way, this isn't the 13th regeneration of the Doctor. There were loads before this as well, and she's just forgotten about it, which was the sort of big kind of reveal the last season. It seems like he might be heading down to do something quite major again this season. So it's setting up to be quite an interesting show, and the sort of cliffhanger at the end of the episode format, which is what Doctor Who always traditionally ran as. I really like how they've set that up, so that's been really good. The only other 2 things that I just wanted to quickly mention, Apple TV stuff again, just amazing stuff on Apple TV. Foundation, which I'm really enjoying, that's been a superb series. The Morning Show has been absolutely spectacular. The last 2 episodes in particular, just phenomenal pieces of TV. Up there with some of the best episodes of Breaking Bad for me. I mean, really, really good bits of TV. Just in case people haven't watched it, I don't want to go into exactly what happens in those 2 episodes.
Okay, I'm 3 episodes behind as well. So
yeah, okay. So I'm not going to go into them, but I think they're just some superb work, some amazing acting from various members of the cast in that. I think these last 2 episodes, there is a really particularly heartbreaking, hilarious scene in a car between Jennifer Aniston and the guy that plays Chip, the sort of producer. And there's a scene in the latest episode between those 2, and it's equal parts gut-wrenching and hilariously funny, and really, really works really well. There's just some great work going on that show. Very, very well put together, and I hope it gets nominated for awards again this year because it completely deserves it. It's just really, really good.
I'm eager to catch up. I definitely am. I've also still got 5 episodes of Good Girls left because I just can't seem to finish that season because it's got 16 episodes. So lots of good stuff to watch anyway.
Yes, certainly. Lots of good things, particularly on Apple TV. Apple TV app as well, of course, is coming to Sky Q at some point relatively soon. We don't know exactly when yet. Hopefully that will give more of the Apple stuff a bit wider audience. It is going to be an additional pay service in the same way that Netflix is, but it's like £5. So it's not like a huge amount for it. And there are some phenomenal TV shows you can binge your way through on there and then turn it off after a month, just great. Well worth watching.
They really have built quite a library, haven't they?
Yeah, they rather than go wide, they went very focused on creating a small selection of really, really high quality stuff. And pretty much every show they've made has been up there with the best of your sort of high-end HBO dramas and just done a phenomenal job with it. So
please renew Invasion as well.
Right. Yes, for that. All right, so that's all the stuff we've been doing this week. Let's move on to some TV and film news. So we kick off the TV and film news with the renewals, cancellations and pickups. No real cancellations, although there is an announcement that the previously announced third season of Hannah will be the final season. This was a creative decision by the guy that created the show. He basically said, I come from a theatre background and theatre things always have 3 acts, so that was kind of always my original idea. It should round off properly at the end of it, but the third season comes out on the 24th of November, and I really enjoyed the first 2 seasons of that, so I'm interested to see where they end that drama.
Yeah, it's a good show.
Definitely worth watching. Renewals... We've got Code 404 has been renewed for a third season. I've watched, I think, the first episode of that and then just got lost in the melees of like everything else that was out at the time, and I never got back to watching the rest of it. That's the Stephen Graham, Danny Mays comedy, but that has been renewed for a third season, so that will be coming back. Miracle Workers is renewed for season 4, so that will be coming back, which I'm very, very happy about because I love that show. Fantasy Island, which has no UK broadcaster at the moment, but that was a show based on, I think, an old movie or TV show, but that's been renewed for season 2 by Fox, apparently. Wu-Tang, an American saga, has been renewed for a third and final season on Hulu. I'm not sure. I think that airs on Disney, possibly over here. And Heels, the Stephen Amell wrestling drama, has been renewed for a second season by Starz as well. So that will be coming back, which is really good news. I need to get back to watching the rest of that.
I never started it.
It's worth watching. It's good. In terms of pickups and other news... We'll start off with the 100 again. So, up until pretty much the 4th of November, it was set to air on the 5th of November and then suddenly vanished. Somebody said they were actually looking at the guide and it disappeared while they were looking at the guide.
That's really weird.
It was pulled by 4Music. They're still claiming issues with the Red Bee Media stuff. Who knows whether that's true or not at this point. It then showed up again on the 15th of November and then disappeared again. We're currently back to having no date for it. They still seem to be implying it's going to come up at some point, but keep an eye on the website. We'll update the listing. You can add it on via the Never Miss and you'll get a notification when we do have a set date, but at the moment it's just still moving around an awful lot, so we don't have a date for it right now. We're waiting for Music to confirm again if it's going to land somewhere, so just keep an eye out on the website. In other 100 news, the prequel that is a backdoor piloted in this final season and seemed to go down really, really well. It's been in development for 2 years and the CW have just announced that they're canning it and it's not moving forward. So 2 years down the drain, but you know, it's their decision. That's what they've decided. They're not going to make any more of it for whatever reason.
Yeah, they seem to be dumping quite a few spin-offs because there was a bunch of Arrowverse ones that were going to happen. Obviously, this isn't Arrowverse, but CW is an interesting network. Don't know. It just obviously for us, it's just a case of seeing the final season.
Yeah, it's interesting with the CW because they rarely actually cancel something once they've actually commissioned it. I mean, they've cancelled 1 or 2 things, but it's very rare that they actually cancel something after 1 season. But there is a lot more things that they sort of seem to be edging towards bringing to an end, or they're just not picking up moving forward. So I don't know what's going on over there, but they seem to be moving things around a little bit. I think the introduction of HBO Max, which has moved some of the DC stuff across as well, and I think they're trying to move a lot of the DC stuff purely onto HBO Max. So that seems to be the case anyway. Back over here, Clarice, which is the Silence of the Lambs spin-off series, that's been picked up by Alibi in the UK to air at some point in December 2021. We don't know exactly when yet. Technically, that isn't cancelled. I know there's a lot of people saying, oh, it's cancelled 1 season show. Technically, it isn't, although I would be quite surprised if it did come back. What appears to have happened was it went out on CBS, didn't do particularly well. It was the lowest rated show on CBS, but it did really well when they put it out on Paramount Plus as a sort of catch-up thing, and people were binging through it and really liked it. So it got good numbers on there. So CBS, or Viacom CBS, basically said, well, why don't we just move it onto Paramount Plus? And I think it's MGM that make it, had issues with the financial side of that, and it would have meant cutting the number of episodes and stuff. So there was a bit of an argument backwards and forwards between Viacom CBS or CBS Viacom and MGM, and it basically stalled. So it's in this sort of weird renewal limbo at the moment where technically it hasn't been cancelled, but it also doesn't look like they're probably going to get to move it forward anywhere either. But the one season of it that has already been produced will go out on Alibi at some point in December in the UK if you want to go and watch that. Sky Comedy have announced that they've picked up And Just Like That, which is the Sex and the City continuation series. That's coming to Sky Comedy and Now TV in December.
So what it's actually called?
Yes, it's called And Just Like That. Well, it's to do with it was a phrase that Carrie used to say, I think, on the show. That's why.
Right, okay. See, I've never seen any of it, so I wouldn't know that.
There you go. That's why, yeah. So... So yes, and moving over onto Disney Plus, there is a bunch of stuff coming on Disney Plus Day on Friday. So there's a whole load of things coming out on Friday in terms of just straight premieres. Home Sweet Home Alone, which is basically a new version of Home Alone. Olaf Presents, which is Olaf from Frozen doing other Disney movies, just sort of reenacting them. It's very weird, but looks very funny. Jungle Cruise is out on Disney Plus as well on that day. World According to Jeff Goldblum Season 2 is out on that day. They've also got some Disney Day Plus specials, which is from Marvel Studios, so that may have some interesting stuff in it. Under the Helmet, The Legacy of Boba Fett. There's a documentary thing coming out for that. There's a Simpsons short as well. There's a whole bunch of other things coming out, but the big thing is Shang-Chi and Legends of the Ten Ring is also coming out on streaming as well onto Disney Plus, so that will be available for people as well. And Dope Sick, which is the big Hulu drama, the first couple of episodes of that are landing on the 12th as well.
I'm guessing that's because did it launch on 12th then?
Yes, yeah, maybe that's...
Yeah, because then we got it later in March.
Yeah. That's possibly why, maybe it's an anniversary thing. But yeah, I mean, for whatever reason, it's November 12th is Disney Plus Day. There's a load of offers and other things, like there's some Funko Pop stuff being offered around and from Funko.com and to celebrate Disney Plus, and there's some discounts and other bits and pieces. But if you go and check out all their social media stuff on Friday, there'll be loads of stuff going up of various different things as well. So go and keep an eye out on Friday on they're Disney Plus, basically spelt plus, not the symbol. Go and check that out across all their social media. You should find some interesting stuff around there on Friday. Moving on to a couple of other bigger news stories. The Boys dropped the first look of one of the new characters coming in season 3. Laurie Holden, who people will know from The Walking Dead, is playing Crimson Countess in the new season. They've released a shot of her in her superhero outfit, which is, as you might expect, very crimson. So basically red from head to toe, joining the upcoming season with a bunch of other new faces. Nick Weschler, who was in Revenge, is playing a character called Blue Hawk. Miles Garston Vanuvla, I think his name is, who was in Law & Order True Crime, The Menendez Murders. Sean Patrick Flannery from Dexter is playing Supersonic and Gunpowder. Additionally, you've got Kirsten Booth from Orphan Black and Jack Doolan from Marcella, who are playing the siblings Tessa and Tommy, aka the TNT twins. And of course, you've got Jensen Ackles, who is joining as the superhero Soldier Boy, although superhero in quotes when it comes to the boys usually. And then Laurie Holden playing Crimson Countess in it as well. She looks good in this. It'd be nice to see Laurie back on. I've not really seen her in anything since The Walking Dead, so
no, me neither. That was a long time ago as well when she left the show. I hadn't actually seen her in this outfit until now. I just clicked on the link that you put in the notes. It looks pretty normal and stuff. I don't I've not read the books and that, so I'm not completely familiar with the character, but yeah, it'd be good to see her back in another show. She's probably been in some smaller things that we maybe haven't seen.
She was in, she was in The Walking Dead. She was in The Americans, actually. She popped up in The Americans for 12 episodes. So she had a run on that. She had a thing called Prove Innocent as well, which I think lasted one season. She was in that. Not been a huge amount in terms of, she's done a few movies in between as well. But yeah, this is probably outside of The Americans, this is probably the highest profile thing she's done since The Walking Dead, I would say. I still remember one of my very early Comic Cons, they did a Walking Dead panel, which she was on, and she was not happy about the way that she was handled on The Walking Dead, the way they got rid of her character at all.
No, it was very last minute as well, from what I understand as well. And I think she bought like a house somewhere or something like that. Yeah, those were the Glen Mazzara days, because that was season 3.
Yeah,
because she was supposed to have a bit more similar to the arc that Andrea has in the book, which would have gone very differently.
Yeah.
But hey, at least she's on this now.
Yeah,
that's good.
That is good. It's nice to see her back, and it's a fun show to be part of as well. So there's some great casting there. So, and they have got that spin-off thing coming as well, which is set at a university for superheroes as well, which is from the team behind Agent Carter. I think that's going to be really interesting as well. Moving on to other things, they had a Stranger Things day, which was November the 6th, 1983, which was the day where Will Byers disappeared and the world got turned upside down. So to celebrate that or commemorate it, they've dropped out a bunch of different things, one of which was a trailer for the series. They also announced that it's coming summer 2022, so there's still a bit of a wait. But the teaser trailer features Eleven, who is now at school in California, and she's penning a letter to Mike and sort of saying how great it is, and how she's getting on with life, and how it's all wonderful, apart from the fact that the visuals are showing that it's all cliques and bullies. She really doesn't have that many friends, and she's saying, I'm looking forward to spring break because I get to see you, kind of thing. We're gonna have the best spring break ever. And then it cuts to like things exploding, death, destruction, all that sort of stuff. It's really great little kind of teaser trailer for it. That's awesome. They also announced the titles of the episodes for the show as well. So the next season episode titles, there's one called The Hellfire Club, which is the first episode. Vecna's Curse is the second one. Vecna is apparently a D&D villain. It's a Lich King kind of thing, or Lich Queen sort of thing. The Monster and the Superhero, Dear Billy, which is interesting because he's, as far as we're aware, definitely not very alive. So whether that's somebody writing something in a diary to him or something, I don't know. The Nina Project, The Dive, Massacre at Hawkins Lab, which could be some sort of flashback episode, maybe, Papa, and The Piggyback. So those are the episode titles, so make of that what you will. But did you watch the trailer? Have you seen?
I didn't quite catch this trailer. I did see the one before. This one kind of creeped up on me a bit. I kept thinking this weekend there was a trailer that I'd missed. It was probably this one.
Yes.
So I'm very much looking forward to the fourth season next year. There's some people that have moaned about, how come this has taken so long? But these shows take time to make the art and the craft, because you have to be very careful with, especially when you make a sci-fi show like this, you've got to make sure you're doing it all right. So,
and they had to deal with a pandemic in the middle of it. So,
as well. Yeah.
I think it's fair that it's taken this long. I mean, last season came out in 2019, 2020. Yeah, so it's a little later than maybe it would be, because it should have come out this year, but so it's a year later than maybe it should be, but they got basically delayed because of the pandemic. So what are you going to do?
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it still. How many seasons do you think it'll have left?
I don't know. Maybe
it's still a big hit for Netflix, isn't it?
It's
still a massive thing.
I think it's one of those things that they will end it when they creatively think that it should end. And I rather suspect that this could be the last season. It may go on for one more. Maybe they wrap it with a movie or something. I don't know. But I don't think it's one of these that's going to go on for like 20 seasons or anything. I think it's far more likely that it will do maybe a fifth season. They might make it to a sixth, but it would not surprise me if it ended on this fourth one as well. But we'll see.
Because I know you've even got the factor that the kids aren't quite kids anymore, but you can still tell stories with them. It's not like they're getting too old. No. You can just tell more sort of young adult stories with them because they're about like 17, 18 or something, aren't they? So.
Yeah. And, as they grow up, there are younger characters they're introducing as well. So, there are things you can do with it, certainly. But and they've got a world to play in. So we'll see where it ends at the end of the full season. But certainly I'm very, very much looking forward to this coming. It should be awesome. So that's all the news we've got for this week. We've just got some highlights for next week on TV. Highlights for next week. We have Grey's Anatomy returning, which of course joins Station 19. So that is returning on the 10th of November. That's at 9 p.m. and then it's followed by Station 19 again at 10 p.m. Sort of, which is a new coming of age comedy coming to Sky Comedy on the 11th of November. That's at 9 p.m. Then we've got The Shrink Next Door, which is a new limited series starring Will Ferrell and Paul Rudd, based on the #1 podcast of 2019. That's coming to Apple TV Plus on the 12th of November. So that's another really good looking Apple series. Dope Sick, as I mentioned earlier, which is based on the best-selling book about the Americans' trouble with opioid addiction. That looks really good and interesting. That's coming to Star and Disney Plus on the 12th of November. Doom Patrol lands on Stars Play on the 14th of November. That's for season 3. I love that show. I'm very much looking forward to that being back.
I've been recommended to pick that up, seeing as I've dropped Batwoman and Titans and other things.
Doom Patrol's, it's very silly but hilariously funny and far more adult than the other shows. It's really, really good. Well worth watching. But that's over on Stars Play for the third season.
Maybe once I finish like the 2 episodes of Stargirl or something, I could try and pick that up.
Yeah, it's worthwhile. Speaking of the CW shows, Batwoman, randomly, the E4 decided that they're going to run the 3rd season on the 14th of November at 11:05. Well, that's what they're saying now. Do not be surprised if it magically disappears again because it's E4, but at the moment, that's where it is in the schedule. Batwoman Season 3, 14th of November at 11:05. Top Gear returns for its 31st season. That's on BBC One on the 14th of November at 8 p.m. And that's everything we have for this week. If they want to find more of you, where can they find you?
You can go over to entertainmenttalk.org. Lots of TV, video games, films, and Manchester United, which has been a fun journey recently over there. You can find me talking about all those different things, reviews of those things, doing the Walking Dead World Beyond, doing the Man United podcast, doing the Gaming Talk podcast recently. I've been trying to get out to see Eternals. I haven't quite managed to do that, but I will so soon. So look out for all those things. You can also find us on, if you look on your different podcast platforms, search for Entertainment Talk, you can find us on there. And now and again I stream on Twitch. You can find me on there, which is eTalkUK on Twitch as well. So you can find me on those different places.
Yeah, so go and find Matt over on entertainmenttalk.org. Other people involved in the show, you can find Bex, of course, over on twitch.tv/Trista Bytes. That's BYTES. We're streaming lots of retro games and retro chat as well. She's been doing quite a bit of 90s stuff recently, so go and check her out over on there. For other people, Daryl at HollywoodNorthNews.net for all those TV series you love which are shot in Canada. Go and check his stuff out over there. For us, you can go to the website at geektown.co.uk throughout the week and see all the latest air date information. If you want to get in touch with your questions or comments, email us on podcast@geektown.co.uk. Leave a message on the website post. Find us at Geektown on Twitter, on Facebook at facebook.com/Geektown, on YouTube at youtube.com/Geektown, or on Instagram at Geektown UK. That is everything. We shall see you next week, and if you're at MCM Birmingham at the weekend, I will see you there. Bye bye.
Goodbye.